Hey guys, Noob here, and today I'm doing another top 10 Pokemon video. This one here is top 10 most depressing Pokemon. These are going to be done on their Pokédex entries, which I got off of Bulbapedia, and the order is my personal top 10 order. So, let's get started. Number 10, Igglybuff. Igglybuff is depressing mostly because it's pathetic. I think because it's not depressing because it has some sort of sob story is probably why it's landed this low on the list. It has a very soft body. Even though Buff is in its name, it is just a weaker version of a Jigglypuff. If it moves at all, it basically is impossible for it to stop bouncing and rolling around. And according to Ruby, it's not even able to sing because it doesn't have fully developed vocal cords, so it can't even sing like Jigglypuff can. So it can't do much at all. Number 9 is Bayonetta. Or Bayonet. Bayonet is number 9 because this is not just a depressing Pokemon, but it is also a creepy Pokemon. So it has its modes of revenge. So it's all a little bit null and void. It generates energy for laying strong curses by sticking pins into its own body. This Pokemon was originally a pitiful plush doll that was thrown away. Then in Sapphire it says a cursed energy permeated the stuffing of a discarded, forgotten plush doll, giving it new life as Bayonet. The Pokemon's energy would escape if it were to open its mouth. So basically it's a big ball of horrible energy just because you threw out your toys. Don't grow up. It's not safe. And this thing is sad. It's so sad that it's basically causing harm to itself. Of course, it's trying to get revenge, so that's why it's only number 9 on the list, but it's not a good situation. Number 8 is Whismur. Whismur is very timid. If it starts to cry loudly, it becomes startled by its own crying and cries even harder. When it finally stops, the Pokemon goes to sleep because it's so tired out. Okay, if you thought it was bad when you were like a preteen, or for lack of a better way to put it, if you were ever a 12-year-old girl, you thought you had it bad when the person that you had been dating for like 2 days broke up with you and you thought your world was ending, guess what? Whismur cries constantly. I mean, maybe not. Okay, it said that it's really a quiet Pokemon, but when it gets startled, it freaks out and then scares itself and cries itself to sleep. You thought you cried yourself to sleep? You don't know nothing. This is Whismur. This is what Whismur does, and he cries himself to sleep. Number 7, Phantump. Phantump is, they are a Pokemon created by the spirits of created when spirits possess rotten tree stumps. They prefer to live in abandoned forests. According to old tales, these Pokemon are stumps possessed by the spirits of children who have gotten lost and died in the forest. So, this is one of the prime examples of something that's a little creepy, but mostly just really sad. Phantumps are children, human children that have died in the forest because they couldn't find their way out. I even think I read that its evolved form, Treevant, is like either its protector there in the forest now that it's possessed the little tree stumps, or that that's the whole reason it got there in the first place, or that Darkrai is the reason it got there in the first place because Darkrai is a scary mofo. So, yeah, these are children wandering inside of a tree stump for the rest of eternity. Number 6, Spoink. Spoink bounces around on its tail. The shock of its bouncing makes its heart beat. As a result, this Pokemon cannot afford to stop bouncing. If it stops, its heart will stop. La, 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 la. Okay, this is really depressing because unlike Igglybuff that was just weak and didn't know what it was doing and was just rolling around for the sake of rolling around, I'm pretty darn sure Spoink is conscious of the fact that if he were to stop bouncing at any moment, he would die. And if you think about it, when you're doing Pokemon battles, they faint at the end. Spoink stops bouncing. He falls onto his back or his side or whatever. He stops bouncing. Essentially, he is going to die if you put him into a battle. That right there is sad, considering you don't talk about Pokemon and death in the same sentence. Okay, about the Pokemon itself actually dying in the same sentence very often. You usually say, oh, they fainted, and that's it. But no, you are killing a Spoink if you take it into battle with you. This is not good. Number 5, Cubone. Okay, I had to put Cubone on here. I don't know if I agree with the fact that I put Cubone on here, but Cubone is on every single sad, depressing, weird, creepy, whatever list there is. Because it never removes its skull helmet. No one has ever seen its face. Of its deceased mother, its cries echo inside the skull and came out as a sad melody. When it thinks of its dead mother, it cries, and its crying makes the skull it wears rattle hollowly. Okay, Cubone is an orphan. Orphans are sad. Cubone, therefore, would be sad. It's depressing to think that there are multiple Cubones. It's not like Cubone's a legendary where there's only one. No, there are tons of Cubone. Tons and tons of Cubone without mothers. And then it grows up to become like a vengeful, seeking, battling Marowak. Which is good. I mean, it's learning how to fend for itself, I suppose, but it cries every time it thinks about its mother. And I mean, it's wearing its mother's skull on its head. It's always going to think about its mother. And I'm not even going to get into the whole Cubone, Kangaskhan, that sort of stuff. So we'll go on to number 4, which is Magikarp. Magikarp is so high up on the list because this one is so incredibly pathetic. It's super depressing to think about. Red says, in distant past, it was somewhat stronger than the horrible weak descendants that exist today. Silver says, for no reason, it jumps and splashes about, making it easy for predators like Pidgeotto to catch it in mid-jump. Ruby says Magikarp is a pathetic excuse for a Pokemon that is only capable of flopping and splashing. This behavior prompted scientists to undertake research into it. Diamond says, it is said that it's the world's weakest Pokemon, and no one knows why it has even managed to survive. So, unlike just a weak Pokemon that rolls around not knowing what it does, like Igglybuff, this one here is just so god-awful that the only thing that is probably keeping it alive is the fact that it has research done on it to figure out why it is as awful as it is. And that's probably the only thing keeping the population going, is just from breeding and experiments and stuff like that. So, honestly, we're probably keeping the thing alive if we're doing anything with it. Otherwise, it's just going to float down a stream, splashing and flopping along. So, number 3, Parasect. Parasect is a host parasite pair in which the parasite mushroom has taken over the host bug. It prefers damp places. Also says the bug host is drained of energy by the mushrooms on its back, which appear to do all the thinking. Both Paris and Parasect are essentially a bug that is being controlled by a fungus. It is essentially The Last of Us happening in Pokemon. It is plants taking over and hollowing out the shell of a bug and saying, "This is mine." So these Pokemon aren't even the real selves anymore. They are zombified, hypnotized, whatever. Essentially, these are zombie Pokemon that are not even consciously alive anymore. They're just wandering around with something else controlling them. The mushrooms on their back. So, number 2 is Xatu. Xatu stands rooted and still in one spot all day long. People believe that this Pokemon does so out of fear of the terrible things it has foreseen in the future. Xatu is one of the wisest Pokemon. It has such great intelligence, such great psychic abilities, that it knows so much before it's going to happen. And it is believed that they have seen so many things, and all they can kind of do is think about these things, so they have scared themselves motionless. So all they do is stand in one spot and dwell on the thought of death, destruction, the end of the world, maybe being trapped inside of a Pokeball cocoon for the rest of their lives. And that's all the pleasure they get in life. And number 1, surprise, surprise, Yamask. I wasn't going to put this one number 1 on the list until I really thought about it and said, nope, it's going number 1 on the list. These Pokemon arose from the spirits of people, interned in graves. Each retains the memories of its former life. Each of them carries a mask that used to be its face when it was human. Sometimes they look at it and cry. So first off, this thing remembers its former life. It's sad that it's dead. It knows it's dead. It doesn't like the fact that it's dead. And did we completely skip the whole thing about people turning into Pokemon when they die, and people raising the Pokemon until the Pokemon dies? And probably the fact that when the Pokemon dies, it becomes a person again through the natural ways of reincarnation. So essentially, it's a never-ending cycle. Like the whole thing where everything has to coexist with each other to actually exist. Essentially, that's how Pokemon and people are. And it's not just in a materialistic sort of way, like Ash's mom needs a Mr. Mime to do her laundry. No. Ash's mom is eventually going to become a Yamask. Ash is going to become a Yamask. If he ever ages. So, and these things know. These things will know. That thing on the screen will know that it was you, and it won't know what to do but sit there and cry, knowing that it had a life before and that it will probably have a life after. So that concludes my sad, depressing top 10 most depressing Pokemon. So, alright guys, I hope you can find something to cheer yourself up with after that, and I'll see you next time. Bye.